So it's no secret that the sniper is one of the strongest classes, if not the strongest when played correctly. But it's that knowledge of knowing how to play them and, the information of target prioritization, which targets are the worst ones we gotta worry about. There's a long laundry list of stuff a sniper should know to be fully efficient, but you don't exactly have to know all of that to know point gun and shoot and high damage gun do good. So at the end of the day, what makes them good? High damage weapons and perks to complement that kind of play style where you hit and run and you can actually be safe while doing it thanks to how often the cloak is up if you play it correctly. Because early on, the cloak is just, kind of there as a sniper. It's like maybe a panic tool, but later on, you start being able to use it all the time, being able to spam it in a sense and get the most damage out of your weapons, the most bang for your buck right there, just because you have the ability to always have cloak and you have good damage output during cloak and when you actually come out of it. So it's just a mixture of these things that make sniper so strong at its core. Alright, so looking at the sniper, I use the highest damage variant. I would say it's probably the best one, but if you find ammo troubles, just use this one probably, the one that gets a little bit more magazine in reserve, but if you want the damage output like me, go for this one. 14 power on that is insane. Bottom tree of the perks, just because I think I chose it because of this right here. More damage on terminus level enemies. I just need all the damage I can get on the stuff like that. Let's see here. Pistol. I use the accuracy variant. We've shown that at least a few times. Sorry, should have shown you the perk tree. There you go. Bottom tree on that. Balance knife. I've gone on and on about how good this thing is. I've gushed about it, so I won't be doing that again. It's probably the only one that I don't fully spec out into one side or the other. But yeah, there you go. More damage on Terminus for this. It's like the whole reason why I did this, and the power wave. It's alright, I guess. But where's the thing at? This one. I did it for this mainly. Shadow stab. Way better than the heavy swing in my opinion. Just what I prefer. But perk tree. We've talked about them all before. I'm just gonna glance at them, let y'all see them. You can go in and look at your finer details on your snipers if you want to know it, but here's the layout. Now, as a sniper, I'm sure you'll have noticed that we don't have anything that shoots really fast. We may have a few DMRs, but DMRs will do a little less damage in comparison to your bolt action and your las, which probably are your heaviest hitting options in terms of, you know, range, charge up times, all this. I mean, all these things you have to take into account, but power is the one thing that I would be looking at above all else when it comes to a weapon. So, bolt action, las, you got that covered. What do you do about your pistol? And your melee at that? Well, you only get one goddamn option, so I hope you like both of them. Me, I love the combat knife, so this is good for me. I'm actually very decent with it. And the standard bolt pistol is very decent. If it had any faster fire rate, it would be kind of like an SMG. But as it stands, it's just a really good, fodder clearing tool, the pistol is. You can use it on anything that isn't warrior and up, obviously, and be, you know, cash money. But thanks to some of the perks that we have on the sniper, namely one that gives everybody 10% more headshot damage, it makes the pistol a little bit more viable for warriors and up, but, what does that leave you for your melees? Well, if you don't care about actually using the thing, just throw on the fencing one and parry everything and stay out of your fights with your cloak. It's probably your best bet. But if you actually want something that you can rely on, yeah, it's probably the balanced one because it's the fastest. And when it comes to, duels against warriors and even a coin effects and such, you want speed on your side. You want to be able to throw out attacks and dodge out of them too when they're done, when the animations are over, as quick as you can. And if you have a slow weapon, And you're not really going to be able to do that all that often. But if you have something a little bit speedier, yeah, it'll feel a lot better when you use it, a lot more fluid, especially if you know the weapon. Like, a standard thing I do with the combat knife, I guess you could probably say it's like a combo. I believe it goes light, heavy, heavy, and then light again at the end. Super simple, but it clears fodder out like nobody's business, and it can stagger warriors and such, so play around with your weapon and see what it can do and what fits it. As a sniper, obviously you only have the one, so you gotta learn how good the combat knife is and where to use light stance, heavy stance, and so on. I get that a lot of people may not like the thing because it feels underwhelming, but it is a very strong melee weapon in the right hands. That's the key thing there is obviously if someone doesn't know how to use it, it's going to feel awful. But somebody that's put some time into it and learned some of the things on it, yeah, it's going to feel great. It's just how it works with these kind of things. It's not always going to be an instant throw on and feel good about it. But, okay. As far as, the playstyle goes, like I mentioned earlier, you can just spam cloak, right? One of our perks gives us 10% of the cloak back on a headshot. A kill, mind you, not just a regular headshot. So as long as you kill fodder with your pistol, headshots, you will have cloak no matter what. I mean, you just saw it charge right there. It's a pretty healthy amount of it. It doesn't feel like just 10%. It feels like way more. But this would allow you to always be, spamming the cloak or your camo, whatever, and getting high damage shots out of it. And it's kind of just like an endless loop of cloak, headshot something, it's weak. You either headshot it, get cloak right back, or you just keep going and spreading the damage. You really feed your whole team executions as well. You'll be loved by everybody if you do the job right. But that's part of it right there, is you have to do it correctly. You have to have good aim. You have to know exactly when you can get these shots. Are they blocking? Are they about to dodge? Like, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? So the knowledge of the enemies comes into play heavily for a sniper. And it's probably more important than just, you know, the average knowledge like that is for the person. Like in a tactical, an assault, they don't care as much because, maybe tactical does if he's trying to scan it, but they don't care nearly as much as the sniper does when a warrior dodges because the sniper has a really, really important shot that he needs to hit, and if he doesn't, that's a huge portion of his mag and reserves, mind you, thrown right out of the window. And that does not feel good as a sniper. It doesn't feel good whenever one shot or two shots doesn't even make him weak enough to execute, but it happens. As far as comparisons between the las and the bolt action go, I think that the bolt action is probably the better of the two because you don't have to wait for the charge up. Now, I've gushed about energy weapons. It's one of my favorite kind of weapons in games, but I also realize the utility of a just straight up bolt weapon. It's gonna be faster than anything energy based in these games, so yeah, depends on what you prefer and want out of your weapon. Do you want to have to line up the shot and charge it for a second like a damn Spartan laser? Or do you want to have instant gratification of you line it up, you shoot, and it usually hits them where you're aiming, you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things that comes down to preference, alright? You decide that for yourself. I'm not gonna sit here and try to persuade you either way. They're both fantastic options. I started with the las early on in my sniper, like leveling them up, and it went perfect. Loved the thing, loved every second of it. But I saw snipers using the bolt action, and I wondered, why is that? What's the sauce behind that? And it turns out there is some goddamn secret sauce behind it, in my opinion. Like, this thing just feels smooth. It feels like it hits pretty damn hard, and it's pretty easy to use. So, there's kind of all these boxes it's checking that snipers usually go for. I mean, what's not to like about it, And thanks to it being bolt action, you don't have to charge it up. It takes next to no time to get your next shot out because we bolt pretty quickly, everything's considered. Like, Wow, I think we bolt faster, so like 2 shots of a bolt action is faster than 2 shots of a las, but it's not like I sat here and tested it. I'm just kind of going off of the feel from what I remember of the weapons, so do with that what you will. Like I said, it is personal preference. They're both fantastic. But I will say it's faster on zoanthropes because you just one tap it a lot of the time and it's down, whereas you'd have to charge up and line up the shots all the same with the las. I mean, it's seconds, right? It's not like it's a whole shift of minutes and all that. It's seconds that you're missing here. But in hordes and fights, the seconds matter. Every second adds up. And if you're caught standing still, charging a weapon, trying to get a shot on something has higher priority than, say, fodder and some warriors, yeah, you're going to take a little bit of damage. You may take too much damage, and you may just reach a point where you can't recover from, or it won't be as easy to recover from. So keep these things in mind. It is always contextual, how bad the mistake is, how many things are charging at you, so on and so forth. How good are the brownies? Whatever. All these questions can be asked, all right? But what matters is, we learn from mistakes and we see where we made these and try to fix them, whether it's like positioning and whatnot. Like, as a sniper, we have freedom to move pretty much anywhere if you have the cloak strat going on. Like, you're going to always have it. So you can choose to engage any fight you really want to. You're getting swarmed by a bunch of stuff, but you don't really want to fight it, go for it. Just cloak and get out of there. Or you could just commit to the fight and cloak in a time where you've been hit. Like there's stuff like this that you can think about in the middle of fights, but to me, I just use it for damage and some survivability, maybe even getting a res here and there. It's small stuff like that that as you play the sniper, you'll see it and be like, okay, I can do this and that when these situations occur. But, it's not like you have to sit here and Hawkeye this shit, okay? It's just feel it out at the most. Don't stress it if you die a bunch. We have the least amount of goddamn armor out of all the classes, us and Vanguard, so make the 2 armor chunks work for you. I mean, if you're decent enough in the combat, you won't even take health damage, but that's like a whole thing that you have to work around. If you're not good with the melees or the combat knife in general, yeah, you're probably going to get absolutely slaughtered by fodder, warriors, like the dual sword ones, snipers, whatever. There's a whole plethora of things that can screw you over and stop you from doing what you're trying to do. So, how do we play around it? I mean, it's a lot of the general game knowledge that you've built up over time, but knowing that you do have a panic button in the cloak is a huge help for some people, I imagine. Just knowing, like, I can get out of this any moment I want to. I do not have to commit to this fight. It's as easy as getting a headshot and getting your cloak back if you don't already have it, and just leaving, just dipping, repositioning, and going. But if you're confident in your fights and your abilities and such, you don't exactly have to do that. I mean, there's a whole other half to the sniper where you're out of your main ammo, your bolty, your las, whatever. You're down to pistol, maybe not even that, and you just have to fight it out with your melee. That's a whole side of the sniper that I find that I'm on way too often because I do miss my shots. I'm not 100% accurate. I'll say it. I have shitty aim sometimes, man. But when it hits, it hits, and when it doesn't, and I'm out of ammo, there's only 2 options I have. It's really just fight it or die. And I'm not gonna just lay down and let them do that. So I choose to fight, and because I know these weapons very well, I'm more comfortable with the sniper. But you may find that you're not comfortable with these weapons as much. You may find that if you don't have a Neo-Volkite pistol, you can't live life the same way, It's just not the same. You may find that if you don't have a heavy pistol or a chainsword, like, it's the small stuff that if you don't have, you may not feel comfortable with. So, think about this kind of stuff before you just jump head first into the sniper. At the end of the day, though, if you want to be a sniper, be prepared to have the heavy hitting weapons, but you have to be kind of prepared to take on the heavy hitters of their team, the fodder in case you get swarmed, being alone from the team at times because you can easily get separated. I mean, there's a lot of things to take into account, but only you can decide if it's worth